bother to listen. So out of all of this that's going to come, maybe the lessons will come with it, and maybe the positive. And I'm going to look at this as a positive. Maybe out of this suffering, some good stuff will come. Maybe the militancy of our grandparents' generation will return to our souls. Maybe the concept of solidarity will return to our hearts. Maybe direct action will become who we are again. But I want to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Miss any portion of the program, podcast. And as always, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you back here next time.
You've been listening to The Rick Smith Show. Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
AP News, I'm Jackie Quinn. We're hearing news of an American man, Travis Timmerman, detained in Syria for 7 months, being released by rebel leaders. Timmerman says he was captured while on a religious pilgrimage. At the UN, a resolution passed demanding a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Palestinian Ambassador Riyad Mansour.
Israel has breached every single one of the provisional orders of the International Court of Justice aimed at addressing the risk of genocide.
The U.S. was opposed to the resolution. FBI Director Christopher Wray is stepping down.
The right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January.
More from our Sagar Magani.
President-elect Trump said he'd nominate Kash Patel to take the job he gave Wray in 2017. During Wray's confirmation hearing, he split with Trump over the probe into whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia.
I do not consider Director Mueller to be on a witch hunt.
The FBI ended up entangled in explosive probes of Trump that led to 2 indictments. Trump calls Wray's resignation a great day for America. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Donald Trump says he'll pick Kari Lake as the director of Voice of America. The former president today is expected to be named as Time Magazine's Person of the Year. The suspect in the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson remains jailed in Pennsylvania. Police say his fingerprints match shell casings that were found at the scene. More than 600,000 people annually visit Santa Claus Village in a small town in Finland, but locals are saying enough is enough. The rents are growing higher because of a dwindling housing supply. This is AP News. The Wisconsin man who faked his own drowning and left his family is back in the U.S. and facing charges.
Ryan Borgwart faked his own drowning and left his wife and 3 children back in October. He had been living in the former Soviet Republic of Georgia.
We had a great outcome.
Mark Podol is sheriff in Green Lake County, Wisconsin.
Ryan arrived on U.S. soil.
Borgwart has been released from custody and is charged with obstructing an intense lake search for his body, which cost the county $35,000. I'm Ed Donahue.
Senate Democrats have failed in a bid to confirm a Democratic member of the National Labor Relations Board. The vote hinged on 2 independent senators, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. They let the nomination fail, which gives Donald Trump the opportunity to pick another Republican member. I'm Jackie Quinn, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see increasing clouds here for today with a high into the mid-teens. Winds out of the west around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, decreasing cloud cover with a low around 7 above. By Friday, increasing clouds again, high of 28 degrees. Saturday, a chance for some rain showers here late. Cloudy skies will see a high of 42. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 6 above.
Have you heard? Affordable healthcare is better than ever. And right now there are more carriers and plans to choose from. If you're between 18 and 64 years old with a household income of $25,000 or less, this message is for you. Right now the government's Affordable Care Act is available for individual and family health coverage plans with little or no cost to you. Don't gamble with your health. Call Healthcare for All at 800-264-0899. That's 800-264-0899.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Thursday morning, progressives, and welcome to the December 12th, 2024 edition of Choose Views. There, slow it down, and it's nice and smooth. 773-763-9278. Guys, good to be with you. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, YouTube. And we're all over the place, guys. And I think that's a good thing. You can check us out in all those different places. And, of course, email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Catch all of our shows, obviously, by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That's where you can get Choose Views, the long version, as I like to call it, featured interviews and full episodes. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. And, of course, Out Chicago and our other wonderful shows and interviews. Check out our Heartland Signal digital platform by going to heartlandsignal.com. Lots of great stuff there for you to add to your day. And by all means, make sure, excuse me, guys, by all means, make sure that today from 2 to 5, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls, talking to William Muck, professor of political science at North Central College, Jessica Craven, author of the Chop Wood, Carry Water newsletter. Got to say that one slow and get it right. And Sean Kitchen, political correspondent at the Keystone Courier newsroom in Pennsylvania. Live, local, and progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. Joan Esposito, Heartland Signal, WCPT 820. And tonight, 5 to 7, guess who? Patty Vasquez will be driving it home for you with co-host Dwayne Kennedy. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez, weeknights on WCPT, 5 to 7 p.m. Yeah, guys, we're all over the place. Heartland Signal on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. Heartland Signal, one word. Be sure to check us out in all those different places. If you're listening live, 6 to 8 a.m. here, AM 820 on TuneIn from heartlandsignal.com. And as I said, watch the live videos on WCPT's Facebook and YouTube pages as well. So that's where you can catch us, guys. YouTube is, you can find us at youtube.com/the Chicago's WCPT 820. There you go. You know, sometimes just Googling just Googling something, not that I'm promoting Google, but I'm promoting searching. You'd be surprised what you find and how you can get things. But you can always email me if you didn't quite catch that. If you're driving, you couldn't write certain things down. So we're all over the place. We're happy to be in many places where we can provide you with access to us and to the stories that we all bring you. So I'll start off by saying a couple of things. It's cold out, in case you didn't know, but that's where we are in this time of the month in December. It's cold, very cold. So make sure you are very, very well dressed. It's very cold. Make sure you got that extra scarf. Stick an extra pair of gloves in your bag if you're taking public transportation, just in case you get up from the bus. This is what happens. You're sitting on the bus or you're sitting in the taxi or Uber, whatever it is, and you take your gloves off and you have them on your lap because guess what? You're looking at your phone. And I know many of you are going, I know exactly where he's going with this. And you get up from your seat in the bus You get off the bus or you get out of the taxi, you're starting to walk, and you go, where are my gloves? The taxi's pulled away, it's 2 blocks down, or the bus is already down the street, and you're like, doggone it, or something more, something saltier, you say, I left my gloves on the bus, or I left my gloves in the taxi. So what's my solution? Buying an extra couple of pairs of, utilitarian gloves that you can stuff in the bottom of your bag, whatever you carry with you every day, just in case. That can go as far as having an extra pair in the car, because you get out of the car and you're walking to wherever, and you've parked in the parking lot or parking garage. You're on the elevator, and all of a sudden, where are my gloves? And they fell off your lap when you got out of the car and you didn't realize it. Don't think that you're immune from that happening, because I have had it happen to me. And my solution has been extra pair of gloves, maybe even a third extra pair of gloves. So anyhow, guys, this is Chicago, and you got to be careful. And if you're in the upper Midwest, so if you're up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, you're up in Milwaukee or Green Bay, you're in Detroit, you're in Philly, or you're in any of the cities that are considered the upper Midwest cold cities. That's just part. And if you're in Ohio, you have to prepare for these kinds of days, and hopefully you guys are taking the safe route. So please, please, please be prepared with that extra pair of gloves, that extra scarf, or whatever you need. And if you're driving today, give yourself a few extra minutes to get the car warmed up, and the car will love you for that. The car will be very pleased that you did not just get in the car, turn on the ignition, and pull away, even if your car's been sitting in the garage. So just be prepared, guys, wherever you are in this sort of upper Midwest climate that has got a considerable amount of cold that's going to be with us today. And then it's going to peak up a little bit tomorrow. So there you go, December weather. And I won't just say in Chicago, but certainly in the upper Midwest. So you guys, please be careful in your travels today. Coming back to something that I asked you guys earlier in terms of 2025, and we've had some responses from you that have been great. And that question is, what is going to be part of your plan for 2025? What are your thoughts, and what are you going to be looking forward to? I know that we've just all seen and heard some of the recent things that have taken place in terms of appointments or suggestions, is what I'm calling them, to various positions in the administration. And, Carrie Lake's going to be the voice of America. Those kinds of appointments are political appointments. They're always a political appointment, irrespective of the party. But some of the people that are appointed, we know that they're not good enough. But they're good enough for this schlocky, trashy, garbage administration that's coming in. I was thinking about this last night in terms of some of my notes for the show, and one of the things that as much as we all know this, it's going to be good to call them out every day, who those people are, as we get closer to the inauguration and we get closer to this new administration. There's a couple things, as I've said before, and we'll say it again, you got to call them out. You have to talk about what their Achilles heels are and their shortcomings are, because I don't really care for the people who are being suggested, because in many cases, as I said the other day, I think there's 9 out of 12 that I looked at that point were billionaires, and that's fine. But they need to divest themselves of some of their financial wherewithal if they're going to be running departments that are taking money out of other people's pocket. I mean, I think that's only fair, because what are they gaining in those positions? Because they now have the ability to to control the levers of the and the pocketbooks of those particular departments. So we have to call them out. We have to make points about it every single day. Unfortunately we don't get to rest in that space. And that doesn't mean you don't get to rest, but it means you got to be on point every day and calling out the ineffectiveness of the folks that are going to be in these cabinet positions. And I think that the Carrie Lake to the Voice of America is just that's just a I didn't talk trash about Donald. I embraced Donald, so now I'm getting my love back from Donald. I think that's all that's about, and we just have to recognize it for what it is in that space. But calling it out is going to be part of one of the things that we have to do. So just let's brace ourselves and be prepared to call out the things that we see in terms of the ineffectiveness of this administration and the cabinet. I heard an interesting in Rick Smith's show that's on right before me. He was talking about is there anything that you're hopeful for with his guest about the Trump administration or about Trump specifically, and he said incompetence, and I would agree that we already know that that's who he is based on all the failures that he's had prior to being president the first time and now being the president-elect. But we want to make sure that his ineffectiveness is talked about loudly, and the ineffectiveness of the administration is talked about loudly. That's going to be one of our superpowers, is calling it out in every venue that we have any kind of purview in, calling it out, talking about it, making sure we know, not just whining about it, but having constructive conversations about the ineffectiveness of it, and now what do we do to rally to make changes. I believe the more we do that, the more that we are going to be less stressed, and we're going to talk a little bit. We have a guest later in the show this morning. Dr. Regina Miranda will be with us in the 7:30 hour, and I just want to, we'll talk about the impacts of mental illness. We'll talk about that in the space as it relates to, our youth specifically. But in general, when we talk about calling things out and speaking to the ineffectiveness of this administration incoming, we are going to we're going to be doing ourselves a little bit of favor by talking about it, by mentioning it, by, yelling at it with solutions, because that's going to be part of our superpower, is to not just sit on our hands and feel bad all the time. That's not going to do anybody any good. So that's, how I'm seeing it. And I know that you guys know that it's going to be a fight, but, this is the season we're going to use to get our gloves ready so that we can come out fighting. And that's part of the coming out fighting is to call out the craziness, the ineffectiveness, the BS, and to be pushing our leaders that we've elected to do the job, to push the administration and to push their fellow, I won't call them their colleagues, but their fellow elected Republicans in the House and the Senate on a state level and in the local level. So we'll take a quick break, guys. 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. On March 25th, 1911, in Manhattan, a fire at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory killed 146 workers, who were mostly women. The victims of the fire were unable to leave the burning high-rise building due to the exits being locked and were forced to leap to their deaths from the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors. Locking doors was a common practice to reduce theft and unauthorized breaks at workplaces. As a result of the fire, the New York State Legislature formed the Factory Investigating Commission, whose findings led to 38 new laws regulating labor. Some of the new laws mandated better egress, the installation of better alarm and sprinkler systems, and increased availability of fire extinguishers. Coincidentally, the American Society of Safety Professionals was formed, which now manages, researches, and consults occupational safety and health across 75 countries. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Catch us on all the socials and make sure you're sharing with those who you care about and who you're keeping motivated and strong in this process of fighting back. But today is Thursday, Choose Views news coming at you. And gosh, unfortunately, this dangerous wildfire is scorching and has scorched Malibu. Strong winds are fueling the Franklin fire in Malibu, California, which has burned nearly 4,000 acres as of yesterday morning, a 39% increase since the night before. About 20,000 people are under mandatory or voluntary evacuation orders as firefighters work to contain the blaze, which has spread across the Pacific Coast Highway, shutting down part of it. Pepperdine University has suspended operations, and local schools are closed through the end of the day today at least. Thousands of Southern California Edison customers have had their power shut off as a precautionary measure, and further shutoffs are under consideration across multiple counties. It saddens me because that's kind of my second home in many ways. I went to school there, went to undergrad there, so I've experienced it, and it's no fun. It's a challenge. So send good vibes out to the folks that are in that area as a favor to me, as we would send them to anywhere there's going to be this kind of dangerous situation weather-wise. Inflation rose again last month. A key price gauge Wednesday showed inflation continued to edge a little bit higher in November. The CPI rose an annual 2.7%, up from 2.6% in October. Excluding volatile items such as food, the index remained unchanged, rising an annual 3.3%, which was up 0.03% on the month. Inflation has cooled dramatically from a pandemic peak of 9.1%, Henry. This progress toward the Federal Reserve's 2% target appears to be stalling, unfortunately. Analysts say the report, which was in line with forecasts, will likely have done little to deter the central bank from again lowering its key interest rate next week to between 4.25 and 4.5%. So inflation is down, though, y'all. And I know that there's going to be this conversation about, going back to what someone said, I'm not being progressive enough. We know that there are issues in terms of prices and in terms of affording things, but overall inflation is down. And then we'll talk about this in another piece, and I'm going to read to you in a moment. Food giants face addictive claims. This was really amazing, Henry. Some of the nation's biggest food companies are facing a new lawsuit claiming they make, quote, ultra-processed foods addictive to children. Kraft, Heinz, Mondelez, and Coca-Cola are among the food giants named in the suit, which was filed by Pennsylvania resident Bryce Martinez. Martinez claims he developed type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease as a teen thanks to the foods, which can include packaged snacks, sweets, and sodas. There's growing evidence that the products are linked to chronic health issues, and even FDA Commissioner Robert Califf has said such foods are probably addictive. Okay, can't blame that on President Biden. And when Mrs. Obama tried to make some changes there, she got railed. And now we're going to have this fool Kennedy coming in. So brace yourself, y'all, but be ready to fight. Instagram rolls out Trial Reels. Instagram has rolled out a new feature called Trial Reels that allows creators to post content that is only visible to non-followers and does not show up in their profile. While the notion might seem counterintuitive, why spread years building a following only to specifically ignore those followers with the post? So we'll see where that goes. Albertsons, and this is what I was getting to about groceries. Albertsons sues Kroger merger. Albertsons says it's calling off its $24.6 billion merger with Kroger and suing the company, arguing it didn't, quote, exercise its best efforts to get the deal approved by regulators. It comes just one day after a federal judge blocked the deal. The Federal Trade Commission has argued that the merger would raise prices. Did y'all hear that? Would raise prices by eliminating head-to-head competition. And also, what? Weakening union bargaining power. The supermarket cited a need to join forces against the likes of Costco and Amazon. Their union would have created a grocery behemoth with about 5,000 stores, meaning the union of them coming together, not the employees union. So, this is one of those moments where a judge sees the impact. And, this type of a merger, yes, absolutely. It reduces head-to-head competition and most definitely weakens the union's bargaining power. And y'all don't have to be in love with the unions, but their place has been solid in my lifetime to help protect everyday employees and workers. GM is retreating on its robo-taxis, Henry. They're hitting the brakes, no pun intended, on robo-taxi business, scaling cost and increased competition is what they're citing as a reason. The move comes after GM's Cruise unit announced it would resume testing of its autonomous vehicles in California, and just over 3 months after the company inked a deal with Uber. Cruise's robo-taxi rollout was delayed after a vehicle injured a pedestrian in 2023, leading to a pause in testing, regulatory scrutiny, and a legal settlement. So they're going to, quote, hit the brakes in that space. But there you go, guys. A couple of Choose Views news this Thursday morning. It's cold out, y'all. Be ready for it. Be safe when you get out and about this morning. And make sure that you are, if you're out and about, don't dilly-dally. That's the other thing. Get in the car, close the door, start it up. Get on the bus, get off the bus, get to your place of work. If you're taking a taxi, just be smart, guys. I know I always say this about our weather here in Chicago specifically and the upper Midwest more broadly, but just be smart because the weather doesn't play. It gives you a very swift wake-up call. So anyhow, shifting a little bit to what's happening in our political universe, I feel a certain kind of bad or sadness. Sadness is not the right word. I feel a certain kind of disappointment for voters in the states of West Virginia and in the state and in Arizona. And why is that? Specifically because Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, quote, on the way out, decided to not vote with this is where I have an issue with them in the specific piece. And more broadly with these politicians. I believe Nancy Mace is one of them as well. And there's others. There's just recently, I caught this in the car and I wasn't able to write it down quickly enough day before yesterday. This is what I have an issue with when it comes to these elected officials switching party. And they're switching, 9 times out of 10, almost 10 out of 10, from running as a Democrat, running as a quote, liberal, progressive, getting elected, and then shifting parties. What I have an issue with that is, listen, they can do whatever they darn well please. The reason I have an issue with that, yes, the voting, we know what Sinema and Manchin didn't do, or did do, if you will, in this National Labor Relations Board vote. We know what they did or didn't do. What I have a problem with, really, really a problem with, and I would say this to their face, both of them at the same time, and throw in, any of the others. Yes, you decided to not vote for legislation that would benefit that department and the people who work in that department, and on and on and on, and specifically with the National Labor Relations Board, and so many people who would be benefactors of better legislation than what Trump's administration is going to put forth. But what breaks my heart about this is the people who worked so damn hard to get you elected in your district or in your state, and then you turned around and gave them the middle finger. That's really what you did. And you tried to use the cover of, the Democratic Party left me, I didn't leave them, or I no longer can support the Democratic policies. Okay, so then when you were running against a Republican opponent and you were talking your talk about them as being awful and however much better you were and your vision was better and the Democratic Party was better, and then you flipped the script on that and you gave the middle finger to the people that voted for you, that worked hard, that stood in lines, that sent out cards, that made phone calls, that did all those things. And then you said, you know what, bump you. My selfishness, my privilege, And Eric Adams up in New York. That's what I was trying to think of. The mayor of New York, because he got caught. Now he's going to flip parties, so he can go kick rocks too. And so don't think I'm directing my ire at quote unquote white politicians. I'm coming out after everybody. I used to say this. I used to say this. And I still do every now and again. I point the ire at myself because I'm trying to figure out how to get better, and that's why I wasn't afraid to talk about the email that I received. But I'm kind of the rainbow coalition of calling out the BS and the garbage, Henry. I will call out, whatever culture or community is messing up. And in this case, Eric Adams threatening he's going to switch go ahead, bye. We don't want you. Maybe Maya Wiley should have been elected mayor, and I think she was a second high vote getter. Maybe they should just drop her into the slot. I mean, I know that's not how it works, so I'm not crazy. But Maya Wiley would be a hell of a lot better person as mayor of the city of New York. And she's probably not going to switch parties. Okay? But Eric Adams, if that's what you want to do, bye. Bye, Felicia. And Kirsten Sinema and Manchin, you all basically just punked out with the people that worked their behinds off to get you elected. And then you decided, the Democratic Party is not up to my standards. We'll bump you. Henry, man, I'm so glad you're here this morning because I know you're going to hit that button if I curse. But no, guys, seriously, I want to hear what you have to say about that. I was looking at my notes and I was like, yeah, I got to talk about this because it's a frustration point for me and I don't want to cuss on the air the things that I want to say. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. We have politicians that get elected in a certain way and then they decide they're going to flip party. And then they do stuff like this, which is directly harmful to people that need it. They're going to hold up a vote and then a vote that is destructive to the core of what we're trying to do. So give me a call on that. Let's talk about these folks that run as Democrats and then flip to the other party after they get into the mix. 773-763-9278. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS. Call Civic Tax Relief for free information now. Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
Just call 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908. 800-841-0908.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see increasing clouds here for today with a high into the mid-teens. Winds out of the west around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, decreasing cloud cover with a low around 7 above. By Friday, increasing clouds again, high of 28 degrees. Saturday, a chance for some rain showers here late. Cloudy skies will see a high of 42. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 6 above.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Yeah, going back to where we were before the break in terms of Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, Eric Adams, and a host of other folks that, switched from, after getting elected, they switched. It's just a sad. It says so much about what they really believe in, which is covering for themselves. It's not about making sure that the greater community that helped to get them elected gets the support of a politician that's going to be leaning in the direction of policies that Democrats get behind. That to tell the lie that they are, they can't get the Democratic Party has left me, I haven't left them, or I don't believe. That's about them. That's not about the people that got them elected, and that's the part that is disappointing. And I'm using kind words this morning, but that's the part that can get you PO'd. The reality is, if you have, and there's others that have done this over the years, we know that. But in this particular time that we're in, we've got a lot of people who have been counting on what those politicians said that they believed in being real, and that were going to do the work once they got there, that was going to support Democratic policies. And so it's frustrating. And I feel for the folks in West Virginia. I feel for the folks in Arizona, because they were, they didn't say, you know what, I'm going to vote for this person because, well, let me put it in a positive light. They said, I'm going to vote for this person because I believe that they're going to do something that's going to be good for our state or our district. And to then have that, there should be, and the same holds true for if Adams decided to, switch to the Republican Party. If that is what a candidate does, an elected official does after their candidacy was based on running from the other side, then there should be some, I want to use, I'll use the word penalty. Penalty is the word that comes to mind, but there should be some form of making sure that candidate's change costs them something. So, for example, unfortunately, this is the sad part of how our voting works on legislation, but they should be prevented from being on committees. Maybe that's a way to go. I mean, for them to not be able to vote, they're going to vote. We know which direction they're going to vote, and Sinema and Manchin just proved that. But there should be, if they're on a committee, they should be taken off the committee. And that's money out of their pocket, because there are stipends that go along with being in certain committees. If you decide to flip parties after you get elected, you can't, if you do it inside of a certain period of time, you can't sit on a committee through your entire term, because then you've just said to the people that voted for you, I don't give a damn about you. But that going forward, and again, this is going to require Democrats being in control of the House of Representatives and on a federal level, and heading the Senate. But that's, I know the definition of traitor is when we're at war, but that's in some ways, in my mind, being kind of a traitor to the people of your community and of your state. I'm not going to harp on this too much. I had it in my notes, and I wanted to talk about it. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. But it's disappointing that a person would do that and then, not even give a darn about the people who helped get them elected, that helped put them in a position where they could take advantage of all the largesse of our government, federal, state, local, doesn't matter. If you choose to be part of a party and run on that, you should stay in that party until you are either beaten in the next election or you decide to step down. So that's how I see it. I want to hear what you guys have to say in that space. The other thing that I want to talk about in terms of what President Biden is doing, we have a clip that I want to play in a little bit, not right now, but you guys may have seen that President Biden commuted 1,500 sentences and put down 39 pardons. I didn't get into all the details of each and every one of them. Certainly, that's a lot, but it looks like he's taking the lead in some ways in that space, and I'm hoping that continues. I heard, and you guys heard me talk about this, that there's some preemptive pardons that he should consider, and some of those have to deal with the folks from J6. And Adam Schiff, newly elected senator in California, said, I don't need a pardon because I didn't do anything wrong. I was doing my job and what the committee's charter is. And I like that position. I do. I like the fact that he's saying, no, I don't need one. And there's a few others that are saying the same thing because they recognize I don't need cover for something that I didn't do wrong. And that speaks to the character of them understanding how pardons are supposed to work. Someone got a bad beat, or was on a bad beat, they got a bad deal, or maybe they didn't, but the circumstances just were kind of yucky. Okay, that he understands that. And so I shout out to Adam Schiff, soon to be, is Senator Schiff, Senator-elect Schiff, for taking that position versus punking out like Manchin did and saying, oh, the Democratic Party's left me. And that's you know, I don't have to agree with everything that Adam Schiff says or does. I've tended to line up with him pretty well, but that to me says he gets it. He understands the system, how it's supposed to work for the least among us. And a pardon is a tool that a president can wield for those who suddenly have slipped into the category of least among us, or maybe most affected negatively among us. And so, you know, send Adam Schiff some love and say, you know, thank you for understanding the system and being able to do the right thing with that, and stating that you don't feel you need a pardon, yet alone deserve one. And kudos to President Biden for the 1,500 commuted sentences and the 39 pardons. So just high fives to him there. I think that, you know, I am critical, as I said, but I'm also going to be ones to compliment. And we appreciate what Senator Schiff, because, yeah, thank you for that. That I just got a text. He and is it Senator Kim in is it Maryland? I think was sworn in by President Harris. I think it happened earlier this week. That's right. So yeah, give him his social media high fives, and thank Senator Schiff for knowing and understanding the responsibility that comes with, or the responsibility that comes with the pardon, or you know, a pardon if you do receive one. All right, guys, listen. One of the things that I promise you with every show is that we've got clips that are gonna kind of I don't know, keep you motivated, or certainly keep you top of mind when it comes to things that we're chatting about. And one of the things that has come my way in recent days is, you know, Richard, I heard I think it was one of the callers yesterday, I can't think of his name again, but he said that, you know, this recount, you know, we should have a recount. So whether we do or we don't, this is the comment that I want to make. And as I'm looking at my notes from yesterday and from last night, there's an interesting clip that was out that I saw that I thought is really relevant to this conversation around Trump has a mandate or got a mandate and all this. And you know, we know that he didn't. But a woman named Jennifer posted this that I thought was really kind of cool, talking about the election math and interesting math. But it does, on the back end, we'll talk about this, it does reach into the conversation about we've got to get more people out to vote. And this is why, as much as we know this election was close in the popular vote, and depending on how you measure the electoral, the battleground states, was close. Ultimately, one of the parts of our strategy going forward has to be more voter engagement. It has to be getting more people out to vote. And when you listen to this, and there's a video that's with it, so there's some pieces that you may not quite get. I'll send it to you if you'd like it, but it's really a good tool for you to have to help people remain motivated about the next elections. And that is that this election was extremely close numerically, but ultimately we've got to do a better job as progressive liberal Democrats to get more people out to vote. So Henry, let's hit him with this interesting math.
Propaganda check. Okay, people can use data to propagandize populations, so always dig deeper. A few facts. Assuming these facts are correct, 245 million eligible voters is what we have in the United States. Almost 75 million voted for Harris, 77 million voted for Trump, 2.7 million voted third party. Okay? So that's how many voted. When you take that number away from the number of eligible voters, 90 million did not vote. Okay? What does that mean? Well, assuming these numbers are correct, 30% voted for Harris, 32% voted for Trump, 1% other, 37% did not vote. So that means 68% of eligible voters did not vote for Trump. So when you're walking around in the world, 7 in 10 people did not show up for him. So you're not in the minority, okay? Keep that in mind. Don't feel like, oh my gosh. Dig deeper.
Yeah, dig deeper. Get into the numbers a little bit. That's why I keep coming back to it was a close election, but at the end of the day, we know that the Electoral College system is a big part of the problem, and that we've given too much power to 6 or 7 states in terms of the so-called battleground states or the swing states and all that. Our election system is way out of whack in that space, and I don't have any problem saying it. Now, I will also say that the fix is taking control of Congress, both the House and the Senate, and state legislatures, which is why prior to the election and since the election, I have, lovingly been harping on why we have got to be more engaged in terms of local elections. This reset for us as a progressive liberal Democratic Party starts with us resetting our activity with local elections, local groups, local social organizations. And, you know, I know I haven't meant to be teasing you guys, but that's going to be part of my conversation as we get into 2025 is what are we doing on a local level? That doesn't mean just covering local, what's happening here in Chicago, local, but local in your community as it relates to, the local elections, the school board elections, anything and everything that lets folks know we're still in the game and we're still coming because our ideas are better. Okay, so when she talks about, look at the numbers and don't be frightened, that means something. Dig deeper. Understand that the numbers were close, and that should help to motivate you to understand that, yes, Donald Trump does not have a mandate in terms of the numbers. He may say it, and Mike Johnson may say it, and other Republicans may say it because they have the House and the Senate. I get that, and I'm not stupid. However, our pushback has got to be first born out of the fact that the election was close. And, in many people's minds, it shouldn't have been close. We should have trounced Trump and the Republicans in the House and in the Senate. We should have done that. But the lack of voter turnout, and yes, there's some voter suppression in that conversation. I get it. But we have to remind ourselves that with a close election, the first thing to do in the next cycle is to make sure that we take care of the home base. And the home base is the local elections that we want to be involved in, and the local organizations that we want to be a part of. So we'll take a quick break. We'll grab some calls on the backside. The number is 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
It's that holiday time of year. Give the gift of hearing to you or a loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audien Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audienhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com. Hurry, don't miss Audien Hearing's Christmas sale live now through December 15th.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Shout outs to Jeff, Torito, Jen, Jay Andrews, Mirza, Indy, Armor, and let's see, Lana. Thank you guys for your post. Just wanted to hit those real quickly on social media. All right, Henry, let's go to some calls. Let's go to our man Andrew over in the Detroit city. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, how are you, Richard?
Doing good. What's going on?
Over here in Michigan, we've got a mess starting to brew. Gretchen Whitmer is almost done. So people are starting to line up to run for governor of Michigan. here in the city of Detroit, we've had this great, wonderful mayor, brought us through the bankruptcy, brought us through COVID. He's turned the city completely around. Just a fabulous man. Well, he's deciding to run for governor, but he's going to run as an independent rather than a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lifelong Democrat. I am not switching parties to vote for him, even if it's just one person on the ticket. I vote straight ticket Democrat, blue no matter who. I'm not going to vote for... And then they're talking about Pete Buttigieg. He lives in Traverse City with his husband. They're talking about him running for governor of Michigan. Well, that's the worst thing. Pete Buttigieg is in Washington. Pete Buttigieg needs to stay in Washington for us as an alpha liberal. We don't need him. If he decides to retire someday, he can come to Michigan and be governor before he finishes up. But not now. Not now.
Yeah.
We need to keep the good people in Washington that we've got there. So I don't know. But this other one, I guess he's thinking he's going to get more votes if he runs as an independent. I don't know if it's going to happen, but he's not getting my vote.
Well, here's a question in that space. I mean, she was elected initially in 2018 and reelected in 2022. Is that correct? So her term is up in 2026, and Michigan's got a two-term limit. Is that correct? Do I have my facts right?
That's correct.
All right. So there's a couple of questions that are out there as part of this conversation. I'm not familiar with the person you're talking about that's going to run as an independent. I'll have to do some research, but thank you for dropping that on me, and I will, Andrew. But I'm with you on that. I think the question is going to come down to if the opponent that's running against him, or that's running in that open seat as governor of Michigan, is a crazy A Republican, and this guy is middle of the road independent. Unfortunately, I will take that over someone that's going to be far right. I'd take someone in the middle that's far. If the Democratic candidate, the leading, because let's be honest, Garland Gilchrist is a lieutenant governor. He would make a great governor, and so that's who the state has to get behind. The Democratic Party has got to get behind him as soon as we get past this inauguration of Trump. We've got to get, shouldn't just say the state of Michigan. All of us who are progressive liberal Democrats across the country need to get behind Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, as the next governor of Michigan. He will do a great job working with current Governor Whitmer, has taught him a lot. But that state's leadership is incredibly important. And that's why we have to, not just the state of Michigan voters, have to get behind him if he decides to throw his hat in the ring. He can't do that right now because she's still, the governor, and it would look...
That's right. One governor at a time.
Yeah, the optics of that just don't work, and a lot of people don't like that. Right. But that's just how we have to play the game sometimes. But we got to get loads of energy behind him. And let's be honest, one of the things that's going to come after that they're going to come after him on is there's going to be the tropes because he's African American. We know that's already going to be part of the conversation from the right. But that's how I'd like to see it play out, is that he becomes the Democratic candidate and then goes on and wins that election, so that we keep.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, good point, Andrew. I'm glad you brought that to the table. And I think it's important that Pete stays as part of the mix in Washington, and I don't know what what will look like, but I do kind of agree that he's a national voice that should stay connected to the national conversation.
I got one other point, Richard. I'll make it real quick. We had the Orange Satan running all kinds of ads during the football season. We've got March Madness coming up, and that involves colleges and college students. We need to have progressive voices doing commercials during March Madness. Just load up the airwaves. Let's show some leadership in the Democratic Party.
I agree.
We got to show our alpha Democrats, liberals.
I've always been one to think about the I'm going to call it the long game of optics, and this is one of the things that, like, I was having this conversation with a colleague over the weekend about the optics of Democratic leadership sticking together. You know, we are, as the phrase goes, sometimes like herding cats because we have big voices. We, you know, the smart part of our party sometimes can be a little bit of our Achilles heel. And I don't say that in a negative way. I'm just saying in terms of, you know, sometimes a broad singular message or a singular message that reaches a lot of people is useful. And at this point in time, the optics, kind of what you're talking about, Andrew, in some regard, is we've got to show a united front, and we need to start showing it right now. And I think I've said this going back to President Obama's former President Obama's 2 terms. Showing a united front is what gets things done, because people, let's be honest, people like to follow that. They want to be a part of that team. And so I agree with you in terms of, you know, our message has to start coming out strong in 2025. We can't wait around. That's a mistake that we've made in the past. And I mean, I'll just
hit the ground running.
Hit the ground running. Yeah, Andrew, always appreciate your call, man. I'm glad you're doing well, staying warm, and appreciate your contribution to the show.
Thanks, Richard. Have a great day.
I will. You too. Stay safe, man. Andrew's old school dude. I think I forgot, he told me, he said his age once before, so I don't want to get it wrong, but he's been doing what he's been doing for a long time. He said lifelong Democrat, but he's up there in Detroit, and I just appreciate his support of the show and ongoing support of progressive politics. Do we have time? Yeah, let's squeeze in my man Andre real quick before we hit the top of the hour break. Hey, Andre, good morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Hey, good morning to you, Mr. Chu, and thank you for having me. You know, Mr. Chu, it's a lot wrong with our system here. The needs attention needs to be paid. Now, this may not happen, but taking the big money out of politics can help keep politicians in line, and also revising the lobbying laws. See, we got too much dark money coming in here, and as long as we got this dark money coming in here, it can influence a Joe Manchin, a Kirsten Sinema, or even an Eric Adams. And when they do step out of line, the people, the voters, should be able to recall these people when they act unaccordingly, or if they deviate from the promises they made to their constituents. Those are some things I think need attention. This is why we have a Supreme Court the way we have it, because of the dark money that has creeped in there. Mm-hmm. But that's why I say I don't know if it happened, but it takes an act of Congress to deal with this stuff. And I mean, all over across the board. Look at the presidency. Don't you think that it should be more than just you're 35 years old, been here 14 years to be a U.S. citizen to be president? What about the dark money? There's no laws prohibiting another Donald Trump from flaring up. If Donald Trump hadn't made it, there's nothing in place to stop another Donald Trump from rising up. Yeah. And there's nothing to stop a Kirsten Sinema, Joe Manchin from switching and doing what they're doing. But it takes some laws to do this stuff. When the Democrats are in power, these are things they need to take into consideration instead of going to sleep with these things here and wait till campaign time to come around and talk about certain things. It needs to be an ongoing process to deal with those issues. And I think when we do that, then you'll have less people jumping ship because they would be held accountable. I mean, that's just my take on it, Mr. Chief.
Well, it's more than your take, Andre. First of all, thank you for that contribution, and I'll make this quick as we come to the top of the hour. Andre, you're spot on. I mean, listen, we have to take that approach starting now. You and my man Jim from Michigan. Got it. My brain is foggy this morning. I apologize. Both of you guys are saying the same thing, you know, in different ways, but with the same end result. We've got to take a stand now, and we can't wait until the next cycle. We have to take the stand right now. Come out fighting, hit the ground running. All the phrases, but they mean the same thing. And I appreciate what you're saying. You're on to something, Andre, that we all have to keep talking about. And I'm going to keep doing my best to talk about it as well. So thanks, man. We'll talk about this more on the backside of this this hour. But Andre, appreciate your call. Appreciate your contribution. All right.
Thank you.
All right, man. Be safe today. Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick break. 77. See your other calls. We'll get to your calls on the backside of this this break. 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for about $10 a month with no annual contract? It's possible with Whole Home Connect, your internet superstore. The internet's grown up over the years. There used to be maybe one provider. Now you have multiple choices that you may not even be aware of. Whole Home Connect can help you. With one phone call, they will show you the best internet deals available in your neighborhood. And yes, we have deals as low as $10 a month with no annual contracts. Whole Home Connect is your one-stop discount store for all your internet needs. It's time to upgrade your internet plan and save money. Call right now for a free quote and to learn about internet plans starting at $10 a month with no contracts.
Call now. 800-257-5168. 800-257-5168. Call right now. 800-257-5168. Again, that's 800-257-5168.
Power up the holiday and give a gift from the top of their wish list. Visit your local Steel dealer or shop online at steelusa.com.
AP News, I'm Jackie Quinn. President Biden, in the final weeks of his presidency, has issued hundreds of pardons. Here's our Jennifer King.
President Biden is pardoning 39 people convicted of nonviolent crimes and commuting the sentences of nearly 1,500 who were released to home confinement during the pandemic. Sources say Biden is also weighing the idea of preemptive pardons for those who face possible retribution from investigations against Trump. This comes after Biden issued a broad pardon for his son Hunter. Jennifer King, Washington.
A big day for Donald Trump in New York City.
Trump is expected to be on Wall Street to ring the opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange. Trump also is expected to be announced as Time Magazine's 2024 Person of the Year. I'm Mike Hempen.
New York City's police commissioner says they now have evidence that links the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson with a suspect who's in custody in Pennsylvania. Jessica Tisch.
We were able to match that gun to the 3 shell casings that we found in Midtown at the scene of the homicide.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Jordan, again trying to forge a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. The United Nations passed a resolution demanding the fighting stop, opposed by U.S. Deputy Ambassador Robert Wood.
Rewards Hamas and downplays the need to release the hostages, and the other denigrates Israel without providing a path forward to increasing humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians.
An American who says he was captured in Syria during a religious pilgrimage 7 months ago has apparently been released from prison. Police in Los Angeles say a missing woman has been located safely. It's not clear where Hannah Kobayashi was found, but police say at one point she had crossed over into Mexico. In New York State, counties expected to get at least a foot of snow from a lake-effect storm. This is AP News. More about those mysterious drones spotted in New Jersey.
The Department of Homeland Security has been briefing state officials in New Jersey about mysterious nighttime drone flights over the past few weeks. Assemblywoman Dawn Fantasia says the devices were described as up to 6 feet in diameter, sometimes traveling with the lights off. They've been spotted near President-elect Trump's golf course and a military facility. At the Pentagon,
at this time, we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary.
Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh. I'm Ben Thomas.
Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr said a foul call against his team that led to a loss to the Houston Rockets last night was unconscionable. Meanwhile, the Rockets, along with the Atlanta Hawks, will play in Vegas for the NBA Cup playoffs this weekend. I'm Jackie Quinn, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see increasing clouds here for today with a high into the mid-teens. Winds out of the west around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, decreasing cloud cover with a low around 7 above. By Friday, increasing clouds again, high of 28 degrees. Saturday, a chance for some rain showers here late. Cloudy skies will see a high of 42. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 6 above.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. During the Civil War, 11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men forced to join. One of these men was Robert Smalls. Smalls was a deckhand on the Confederate supply ship known as the Planter. During his time, Smalls learned as much as he could about navigating the ship so he and others could escape. And on May 13th of 1862, while officers were sleeping, Smalls, along with 16 others, took the Planter out of the Charleston harbor, navigating through all 5 checkpoints while heading to open waters looking for the Union blockade. Smalls raised a white flag of surrender, letting Union soldiers board the ship, giving them guns, ammo, and documents about planned Confederate attacks. Being a wealth of information, Smalls was given the role of the Union Navy captain. Stories like Smalls are one of the many factors convincing President Lincoln to allow free African Americans to serve in the Union Army. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
And take it away I shall. I love that Hammond P3 organ in the background there, Henry. All right, guys, 7 o'clock hour, 773-763-9278. Thanks for being with us. Make your way over to where? Heartlandsignal.com, our digital platform. Some good stories there, but also some posts in terms of Heartland Signal on X. We saw that Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, Republican, showed his behind day before yesterday. Also a great bit of, Representative Jasmine Crockett once again bringing the heat on Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, who had the nerve to cover his ears. What a knucklehead. Oh, Lordy. So there are some good pieces there that you guys need to check out. And you can find this at heartlandsignal.com. So make your way over there. All right. So I want to go back. I want to circle back to something from the first half hour of the show. And I really can't decide, but I know I brought this up about Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, who, in my opinion, both are awful. But I can't decide who I despise more. I have my thoughts about it, and I'll share it with you. But if you guys call in, I want to hear what you have to say. Who, in this current moment, who do you despise in terms of their politics more, Manchin or Sinema? It's almost like we're going to turn around and they're going to have a show on Newsmax. You watch. They're going to have a show there. It's going to be. It will be. I think that I'm going to call an early prediction, Henry, that they're going to have a show because that's how that group rolls these days. But all right, let's jump over to a quick call. Let's see what Cassandra at Oak Park has to say for us this morning. Good morning, Cassandra. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. Thank you for taking my call. How are you today?
I'm good. I've got that. You're from the area, so every now and again you get that early morning fog in your voice. No matter how much fluid you drink, no matter how many cough drops you have a cold. You just got they got the stuff. I feel great, but I'm like, man, I can't. I'm talking over my own words this morning, but I'm doing great. Good to hear your voice this morning.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I understand completely because that was my fear. Like, am I going to have my morning voice, which is cracking or what? So several things from in terms of how to get that vote going, how to stay strong for not only 2025, but 27, 29 and on, and 28 and things like that. And I think there's a different way to look at how Donald got in there in the first place. We did not have critical thinking working. This was a showman from The Apprentice. People watched it. I watched it. And I think it was the ultimate way for people to participate in a reality show without being screened out, like in Survivor or Big Brother. And so they did it with their vote. And they're laughing, thinking, not that all of his votes were that, but enough that got him across the line. But that critical thinking of, well, what if I'm not the only one that votes for him? Oh, my God, I can't have this clown be president. Mm-hmm. But people stopped at, oh, I'll vote for him, ha, ha, ha. And that critical thinking aspect was, like, suffocated. It just was, kept out of the room.
Why do you think that is or was? I say is because it's still in play.
Yeah, I think people are comfortable having politicians think for them. They're comfortable having family members tell them what they should do.
Wow.
Because they just don't want to take the time to be responsible. And then they can turn to others and say, hey, I did this because this is what you told me to do. So I think critical thinking should be introduced into the school system, and I'll give you a quick example. If you've got Sam, who's in second grade, and it's picture day, and Sam's wearing his best suit, and it's raining, and his mom says, you should, put your raincoat over that so your suit doesn't get ruined. And Sam decides, no, I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. Bus comes along, Sam, while he's waiting for the bus, car comes along, splashes Sam. Sam's suit is ruined. Mm-hmm. So bring it along at an age where kids can learn it from, like, second grade and then evolve it when they get to fifth grade and evolve it when they get to middle school and so forth. Bring it so that it's age appropriate and they can have that mindset going forward. Sam's classmates are going to say, Sam, your mom told you to wear your raincoat. Why didn't you? Sam's going to learn a lesson, The other thing I think in preparation going forward, we need to have something like I called it a President Academy, but some type of academy to hone the skills of civic duty, empathy, compassion, politics, something that will help inoculate us against the long game that the Republicans are playing. Do
you mean for people that are running for office or people that are in the voting, the everyday voter that's participating in the process?
Both.
Both.
Those who participate and those who want to be part of the deciding votes that help to run the country.
Okay.
I think both, because if you do it at the voter level, then they'll understand the process and understand what that vote means, because we've heard it in the news now where people were like Googling, can I change my vote? Because they didn't understand everything that was happening. And even there was this one state, the way they phrased, the way they wrote the vote, people, no matter how you voted, you thought you were voting in your interests, which was to get rid of something, but it actually ended up, you supported it because of the way it was written.
Yeah. So, okay, so you just kind of put my brain on fire, because I'm oftentimes thinking, what are the things that we can do and tools that we have to push information to people that are unplugged? That's going back to the clip that I played earlier. And if you email me, because I know you're someone that'll utilize this, if you email me, I'll send it to you. But Cassandra, that's where we have all this information to push out so that people can be more informed and not ask a question like, well, can I change my vote? Or I don't want that Obamacare, but I like the ACA. And then the other comments that you've seen and heard since the election. Where do we, in your observations, start with getting that critical thinking and the, for lack of better words, sort of election schooling out to people? Where do you think we should start with that, or how?
Well, again, probably initially, it's probably going to end up being, maybe grant-based optics outside of school.
Okay.
Where you have like when people have the math academies, or to strengthen math skills, and Huntington Learning School or whatever, but something along that line, because it would be a hard push to get that into the curriculum in the schools today, mainly because of all the other components that they're tasked with learning.
And the push and going just in terms of banning books, they would want to ban, depending on who's in charge.
Right.
They want to ban that type of education being
exactly, because they'll say it'll come under the heading of woke.
Right.
And so it's going to have to be I think, a standalone initiative in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing I can think. And when you look at Trump, the way he ran his first campaign, he was not trying to win. He was really trying to just, bolster his persona.
Right.
Because he was saying crazy things that would invalidate any other person, any other candidate on any given day. I can stand on Times Square and shoot somebody and I would get away with it. And if someone had said that, if someone else had said that, they're out.
And
that would be it.
And here's the thing. I'll go down the line of saying it doesn't matter if they were whatever cultural community or gender. If a Republican woman running for president had said that, she would have been done. A Republican white woman had said that. If a Republican white guy, other than Trump, let's just say Bush, the brother, had said that because he ran in 2016. If Marco Rubio had said that, and the list goes on, they would have been done, DOA politically. And so I go back to something that you said that I want to re-highlight because it needs to be people need to be reminded of this. Donald Trump's persona is what got him in the limelight politically in 2016. It was the reality star conversation. And you guys have to we all have to go back and rewind and look at what was it that was appealing to enough people. And it wasn't that Hillary Clinton was a bad candidate. I'm done with that conversation. It was, in my opinion, it was that Donald Trump's persona tapped into something that people wanted to be a part of. Not that it was politically smart, but that it was socially smart. And and here once again, that same sort of way was impactful in this election. Vice President Harris is a great candidate. Elected to three different parts of our government system.
Yeah, she moved up the ranks.
Right. This is which is supposed to be the American thing, right? Moving up the ranks in all categories of success. But Donald Trump's persona, people wanting to be like, and then of course, let's not be fooling ourselves, Cassandra, the hate for a brown-skinned woman being the world leader. So that component cannot be. We're irresponsible to skip over that.
Well, I'll tell you one other thing you asked about what we can do. Governor Pritzker did it perfectly when Rauner ran against Quinn. Rauner kept lobbing these lie after lie after lie. And Quinn just looked like a deer in headlights. Yep. He didn't know what to do. He never refuted. I kept yelling at the TV, where's the commercial to say that's not true? Pritzker came along and Rauner stuck his playbook. And Pritzker would deflect and said, no, I'm doing this legally because blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And then Rauner would say, okay, I can toss that one out. Throws another one out there. Pritzker's like, no. And then before you knew it, Rauner just shriveled up, and because Pritzker is like, I'm not going to let you lie, and I'm not going to let that lie detract me from telling the message.
Look, people got to understand, Governor J.B. Pritzker, people want to call him soft, but Governor Pritzker, he got a little bit of that in him. He got a little bit of that gangster in him, in a subtle way. And he was the first governor, even before Gavin Newsom, even before Big Gretch, that after the election said, y'all better watch out. Don't come for my people because I'm going to stand in the void. And I got a couple of clips we're going to play about that. But Governor Pritzker is a good politician. He's a good business person. He understands how to win and how to play the game. And I agree with you about needing to play the long game. And so with his partner, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, we've got a good team here. We got to stay behind them and keep them propped up. So,
yeah, 100%.
Cassandra, it's always good to hear your voice, and it's always your logic and your thoughtfulness is greatly appreciated. I love your contribution to the show. I really do.
Oh, thank you very much. I enjoy listening to your program.
Thank you, Cassandra. Have a great day today, and I know we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, Cassandra's on point, y'all. She gets it. We got to take this quick break. We blew through it, but I wanted to be able to have that conversation with her. 773-763-9278. We'll come back. We'll grab a couple more of your calls.
This is an important announcement for anyone who wants health insurance, even if you missed the deadline. Right now, you can get the health insurance you and your family need from top insurance providers, even if you have pre-existing conditions or no insurance at all. The Plus Benefits Health Insurance toll-free number has been extended to help anyone who wants health insurance coverage now, or if you need a better plan or a lower price. Call Plus Benefits Health Insurance now at 800-378-1388. The call is 100% free and the help is real. Call 800-378-1388. That's 800-378-1388.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Let's go to Deborah. Good morning, Deborah. You've got some comments you want to share with us.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting my call. Blessed day. Cold day, but blessed.
Hey, Deborah, you're kind of muffled this morning, so I don't know what you can do to clear that up a little bit.
Is any better?
That's a little bit better. Go.
Any better? Okay. The last caller?
Yes.
The last caller, she started off and pulling the strings to my heart, and that's awesome because that's what Dr. King, what he wanted for his children, he wanted for all children. And he came to Chicago, the west side. That would have also applied to the south side. So we have now the effort, and you mentioned a mayor out of the south suburbs. If you would recall, and I'm sure you'll be able to recall, the mayor who's doing something with the young people, and prayerfully her candidacy. Prayerfully I may be in a position to make some type of donation. And once I remember, you remind me who she is that's running for mayor, and she's on the platform of helping our children. But I need for you to know this. Yes, it's so good. It's so good to educate. The Commissioner Shaws, are you familiar with the Shaws? Where they try to put in black history in the schools for our children. That was denied and deprived. So this is what the Republicans doing. This is what was happening here. We got to be honest and truthful. So, lastly, I'm going to say this. St. Bernard Hospital, an expert, a doctor there, was talking about our children who were being sourced out from there. Please look into this. Google this, whatever, Richard. And they were not getting the help in the state that they need. So, jobs, education, Mayor Washington, jobs. Yeah. Thank you so much for accepting my call.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for your call.
Have a blessed day.
You too. One of the questions that I asked Cassandra when she talked about I asked the question, how do we do that in terms of the political, strengthening our younger minds with critical thinking? That's the original point. Her origin point was about critical thinking early on. And so sometimes I think what happens is let me back up. Civics has been lost as part of our educational dynamic. And the proof in the pudding is this. We wouldn't have people asking the question, can I change my vote, if civics were still strong and a big part of curriculums. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an educator. I don't pretend to be one. But the thing that I can tell you is the evidence of some of the things that people are saying post-election and that have been saying for a long time, and the lack of engagement says to me, based on the evidence, that we've lost our way when it comes to civics and how our society from a governmental standpoint runs. We just have. Candidly, we have too many, I'm not going to say stupid, but we have too many undereducated, arrogant people when it comes to what happens in civics and government. We just do. And I've encountered many, many of them before this show, way before this show, and since this show, and I'm sure I will in the future. I do think that we have to ramp, if we want to see a better a society that understands our operational efforts from a political standpoint, we have to re-engage education, the education of civics in our public schools. Now, I know I'll get challenged on that, and I welcome it, but we do have to re-engage in that space. We have too many people that are unaware of how our political process works. That's a fact. And here's a way to understand, or I'm sorry, here's a way to tap into why that's probably more accurate than not, is look at the numbers of people that don't even know who the candidates are and what their backgrounds are, other than what they see on social media or on mainstream media. All right, I'm gonna somewhat leave that alone, because I asked her the question, and Cassandra makes a good point. We need to spend. She started off with more critical thinking, and I asked about implementation in our school systems. It'd be hard as hell to get that through, and that's why I said in terms of where we are with books being banned and conversations being banned, and Cassandra even said it would be categorized as being woke. I get that. I understand, and I agree with that. I don't think that it would work as part of curriculum in our schools, public schools. I do think that that we just need to use good old civics and government and social studies. That's what's missing, to be honest, and to make to provide more time, or to put more time toward that learning is critically important, because we don't have enough critical thinking when it comes to social issues and economic issues and certainly political issues. We just don't. And the proof is in who we've been electing. I think that the evidence speaks louder than anything else. So in the way that Cassandra put it, we have to have more critical thinking, and we have to use what we already have in place rather than starting something new necessarily, or inside of the school system. Outside of it, I would be totally down with having, civics academies that aren't politically leaning left or right, but are results. They talk about the results of elections and how those elections, how those candidates ran their elections. There's all kinds of ways to put that together. And off the top of my head, one of the things that comes to mind is just people understanding, how old a person has to be to run for certain offices and to be elected to certain offices. A lot of people don't know that, or may have forgotten it if they learned it earlier on in their schooling. But what I'm trying to say in this space is there's a gap between what people are voting for, who they're voting for, why they're voting for them, and then understanding the process. And I think that if we just simply go back to making sure that civics is taught in our schools more readily, and we aren't just, throwing AP classes at our students anymore, that we'll have a better functioning society when it comes to understanding politics and social issues. And doggone it, we have to start teaching. We have to start spending more time talking about history, because a lot of people on the right, frankly, want to get away from talking about history because, that history isn't necessarily the best or the brightest or the shiniest. That's a reality. It's not my opinion. They don't want their children to be put under any sort of, make my children feel bad because we talked about enslavement or the lack of women's rights. And the list goes on. LGBTQ rights, and the list goes on. No, we need to talk about it because that's part of our history. We aren't just a shining, wonderful, great country that's been run by, straight white Christian men. We got some issues inside of that need to be talked about. And the more we talk about them, the more we understand that our history it doesn't have to define us, but it does have to be part of how we have a foundation to go forward. Civics in school, we already have a model in place. We just need to have it be a bigger part of the curriculum. I don't think we need to have, necessarily political training, if you will, in schools, but critical thinking by all means, and civics thinking, civics classes have to be there. We're going to take a break. Well, actually, before we take the break, let's see, can we I think no, it's a little tight. I don't want to do that because we have a guest at 7:30. But so you guys hold on. We will get your calls after our guest at 7:30. So just stay with us because I don't like to push anybody too hard into our breaks. But yeah, guys, I'm with many of you who've been replying and saying your comments about what we need to do to fix our critical thinking. And I think it starts with using some of the tools that we currently have in the school systems, certainly in the public school systems. And that is to make sure that we move more energy toward the teachings of how our government works on a local level, on a regional and national level, as I've said before. And we definitely have to make sure that our students are prepared to understand that they can have impact, irrespective of their political, left or right. They can have more impact if they know more about the process. And then we will be, raising a smarter group of future leaders. Just me, but there you go. 773-763-9278. After our guests, we'll get your calls. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The worst thing about political jokes is that they keep getting reelected.
The Capitol Fools are getting out of Washington, D.C. and coming to see you. Don't miss your chance to find out what rhymes with the day's news when Washington's premier comedy group, the Capitol Fools, come to the North Shore Center in Skokie, Saturday and Sunday, February 1st and 2nd. Tickets at northshorecenter.org or ticketmaster.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see increasing clouds here for today with a high into the mid-teens. Winds out of the west around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 25. Then for tonight, decreasing cloud cover with a low around 7 above. By Friday, increasing clouds again, high of 28 degrees. Saturday, a chance for some rain showers here late. Cloudy skies will see a high of 42. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 5 above.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Chew's View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey guys, welcome back to Chew's View, 773-763-9278. We're talking about, providing a foundation and maybe recapturing what we used to do or that we did more of in terms of civics and government and social studies to broaden the understanding and knowledge of our children. And I think there's a case to be made that the more we spend time in that space, the better we are going to be at helping to develop future leaders, left, right, or in the middle. Just to be fair in how I state that. And in that conversation around youth education and youth mental support, many of you may know this, maybe you don't know this, but we've got right now, the numbers don't lie in terms of the number of youth that are having mental health struggles. And the organization, the Sound It Out campaign, reminds parents that listening is a form of love. We have with us this morning Dr. Regina Miranda, Sound It Out mental health expert, to talk a little bit about youth mental health. Good morning and welcome to the show, Dr. Miranda.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, you may have heard I had one of our callers talk about in the civics or in the conversation around critical thinking and civic education in our public school systems, that's something that we all need to embrace a little bit better, a little bit stronger. And I got my observations around that. But one of the things that you have been specializing in and really leaning into is the mental health and the mental challenges and stresses that our youth are having today. The work that you're doing right now in terms of Sound It Out is really, not only important and needed, but it's something that a lot of people need to know a little bit more about. So share with us a little bit about the work that you're doing and about your program and the organizations that you're a part of.
Well, yes, so Sound It Out is a national campaign that launched in 2021 by the Ad Council in collaboration with Pivotal Ventures to help parents have conversations with their kids about their emotional well-being and mental health, because we know that over the past few decades we've seen increases in anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and suicidal behaviors among youth. And a recent survey indicated that over half of young people ages 10 to 24 struggle with their mental health. About 1 in 5 indicate that they struggle with anxiety, and about 1 in 4 indicate they struggle with anxiety, and about 1 in 5 with depressive symptoms. And so we want to encourage parents to not only have conversations with their kids about how they're feeling, but also to be active in listening, because kids also indicate that they want to talk to their parents about how they're feeling, but parents, they're not sure that their parents will actually listen to them, and instead may jump to solutions before really trying to understand what they're going through. And so this campaign, Listening is a Form of Love, is a series of public service announcements that have been disseminated nationally, but also through a digital website, an interactive website where parents can go and watch these videos about, and these are actual teens who, they're not actors, who are describing what they would want their parents to know about what they're going through, and how they'd like to have conversations with their parents about their experiences and to be listened to.
Wow.
So this is a free resource for parents.
All right, so I'm going to come back. Sound It Out is really going back to the basis of what you're saying. Questions, listening, not coming up with a solution before you understand what our children are really dealing with. So I have to ask you this question. Do parents, and this is a broad question, but Dr. Miranda, do parents need more training, more resources that allow them to be better at listening rather than fixing problems?
I think so. I think we need to normalize having conversations about feelings and about mental health. I think that we are socialized to think that we have to be happy, that we have to try to pursue happiness. But really, we have a whole range of feelings that we feel, and it's normal to sometimes feel, sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're anxious. And we have these feelings because they serve a function. And so rather than looking at things like sadness, things like fear, anxiety as things that we have to fight all the time so that we don't feel, I think we need to normalize talking about them, that it's okay to feel however we're going to feel, and to look for signs if we're struggling so much that it's interfering with our ability to relate to other people, to function, to go about our everyday lives and to have meaningful relationships with people. But that it's important to have these conversations and to help parents develop the ways of starting these conversations, because I think we often think as kids transition into adolescence that they don't want to talk to us. And it's not that they don't want to talk to us. They do. They do want to communicate, but they're learning how to communicate differently. And so we as parents can help them from when they're younger, in middle school, really develop that vocabulary to talk about how they're feeling, and even ourselves to normalize talking about our own feelings, that if we're struggling significantly with our mental health, it doesn't mean that we're crazy, that there's something wrong with us, and that we're going to be ostracized and stigmatized and seen as defective in some way because we're sad or we're anxious, maybe more than we would like to be.
It's interesting about there's this environment that is part of our society right now, and that is the tough guy, and in many cases the tough gal, the tough woman, the one that yells the loudest, the one that's got that figuratively pounds their hand on the desk in the conference room, and in the classroom and in the kitchen, is the one that's the strongest one and the one that you should follow. And there seems to have been over the last, I'm going to say easily decade, if not longer, this sort of movement in the direction of the strong person is not the one that's talking about what's on his or her mind and the feelings that are out there. I'm making a very broad statement, particularly to someone of your background and with your bona fides in this space. Is that real or is that fiction? Is that are people moving in that direction, that that's more enticing than talking about your feelings, particularly when it comes to raising children?
Well, I think what we saw after the pandemic, that because many of us were experiencing this collective stressor, that it actually became more normalized to talk about our stress and about how we're feeling and about getting help. So one of the outcomes, I think, of the pandemic, as difficult as it was and it has and continues to be, is that we started becoming interested in not only our own mental health, but the mental health of our kids more and more. Even before the pandemic, we were seeing rises in mood and anxiety difficulties and thoughts of suicide among our kids. But I think post-pandemic, because we were all feeling it, it became more normalized to talk about it. So actually, I think I'm encouraged that we're having more and more of these conversations, and there's greater interest in normalizing talking about our feelings, and that it's okay to feel how we feel. But of course, there are always areas where we might be raised to suppress our feelings, to kind of push through, especially if you're struggling economically and you're struggling to put food on the table or to find a job. So there are other kind of economic concerns that we have. We think we have to set aside our emotional life to deal with those things. But in fact, processing our feelings and talking about our feelings and about our mental health is going to help us with all of those things. And I think we think that those things are mutually exclusive. But kind of like with our physical health, right? If we have a physical problem going on, we pause. Some people may overlook that as well, but we pause. We go see a medical professional if we need to, and similarly, or we engage in lifestyle changes that will improve our physical health. Similarly, we can engage in a lifestyle change that promotes engaging with our mental health and becoming willing to talk about all of our experiences and about our emotional life, and similarly helping our kids develop the language that they need to talk about their feelings. Because if they don't develop the language to talk about their feelings, it may manifest itself in different ways, maybe behaviorally. So
you've said this a couple of times, and I love this phraseology, and I got to embrace this and use this more in what I do. Developing the language, and that's a tool that then I would think allows folks to be better at listening and then develop better at communicating their thinking. How do folks develop the language? And you talked about this in terms of, listening is a form of love, but how do folks develop the language?
Well, it takes practice, right? So there is organizations like Sound It Out, or campaigns like Sound It Out Together.org have resources for parents to start the conversation. So it uses music. So the way that this campaign launched was with using music as a way to express what kids are feeling, because sometimes you don't have the words. So there might be other ways of expressing, or there might be language that exists to express how we're feeling. So via a song that we listen to that really resonates with us. And so that's expanded to include information for parents about different topics, emotion-related topics or experiences that you have. And also a conversation starter pack to help parents reflect on how they deal with their emotions, and then to also help their kids reflect on how they deal with their emotions and how to have those conversations. So these are tools, but it really takes practice. So we can go on a website and get suggestions, and then we really have to practice and see what works for us. And so with this new campaign, Listening as a Form of Love, what we're telling parents is that sometimes it's just about pausing and listening. We don't have to jump to a solution, and that kids will feel supported by us if we create a space for them to be together with us, but also to really listen to what they're going through without judging them. Mm-hmm. And that's really step one. And then the other step as a parent, even before that, is to serve as an example, because we often want our kids to open up to us, but we don't do that ourselves. We don't talk about how we're feeling, and we don't seek our own support from loved ones or friends or community or even professionals when we need it. And so if we first start out by reflecting on how we talk about our feelings and whether we're willing to engage in conversations, that's something that I often recommend as an initial step to then getting our kids to open up to us about how they're feeling.
So I love what you just said there about us opening up as parents, as adults, whether we have children or not. And I want to share a couple things with you. I'm going to get your feedback. One of the things that I've always tried to do when it comes to children of any age is to tell them about stuff that I'm doing or that I'm going through that happened to me, and ask them, what do you think I should do about this? I've had my 4, 5, 6 year old grandnieces and others where I've sat down with them to engage them. I would say, so, what do you think? Today I stubbed my toe getting out of the car. What do you think I should? How should I deal with that? And it's interesting to watch their faces, like, Uncle Richard wants me to tell him what to do, but it allows them to see that I'm willing to ask them for their help. And it's like a game changer. They immediately want to tell us, like, okay, well, why did you stub your toe, and how did that happen? And it creates it takes down the ton of barriers that allow them to then feel like it's okay to engage, because now I can give feedback. I can give, my grown uncle some thoughts about his problem. And I'm oversimplifying it by saying, stubbing my toe. But is that part of the being vulnerable as a parent, as a grown person, when it comes to children, that can be helpful?
I mean, I think that's a great example of opening up with them and to maybe problem solve together, right? Or just to talk about what that feels like. I would even take it a step, like even before that, before we go into problem solving, just what it is that is going on, right? What it is that happened and how we feel about it, and whether we go through stuff that we struggle with too, and what that feels like for us, and so to model for them to talk about what it feels like for them when they go through things, so I think that's a great example.
Yeah, I mean, and I was I'm always been mindful of how I can be strong around children, but also be vulnerable, because I think the real good stuff is the vulnerability. And they then, because going back to what you said earlier about they're afraid to talk about certain things because in many cases they're not listened to or don't feel that they're going to be listened to. The vulnerability does allow, I think, our children to see that, hey, mom or dad or Aunt Regina or Uncle Richard are they're having a tough day, and we come to them and say, I need your help with this. It's worked for me. I'm not saying that's true for everyone, but it definitely gets back into what you said about listening and giving them a platform to talk about things and be helpful to the process. Your work,
and they can discern.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
They can discern and perceive who it's okay to talk to about certain things. So if you put your own feelings on the table, right? If you model for them that it's okay to talk about these things, then they know, okay, like this is a topic that if I bring it up to my parent, to my aunt or uncle or other person, adult in my life, that I'm not going to be judged. They're going to listen. So they may not agree. They may have opinions about it, but at least they're willing to listen to me first and to try to understand my point of view. And even if they don't fully understand it, they're trying. I think kids want to know that we're trying to understand them. Not necessarily that we understand them 100%, but that at least we're trying. And I think the trying is the important thing, and that it's okay to bring up a host of topics, and that we will be there and we'll try to listen non-judgmentally.
I tell you, sometimes, Dr. Miranda, our children, they just want to know that they aren't the weird, goofy, and that's okay to be goofy, but they're not the outcast. They just want to know that, it's okay to be going through some stuff, and it's okay to be like, I don't get this. And sometimes just letting them have the table to be able to talk it out and is huge, and it gives them so much comfort that it's all right to be who you are at this point in your lives. I mean, is that a fair statement?
Yeah, and I think we all want to belong. Kids want to feel like they have a place to belong. And so one of the fears around expressing something that you might be going through is that someone will reject you for it, or won't like you anymore, or won't value or think highly of you anymore because you were just vulnerable with them. So I think people may not talk about what they're going through because they're afraid of no longer belonging or being rejected. And so by listening non-judgmentally, creating that space for our kids, we can give them a place where they always belong, or where they know they always belong, no matter who they are or what they're feeling or going through.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm excited about having you back on because your foundational emphasis on making sure our children are strong then helps us to make sure we're growing them into good, solid adults. Dr. Regina Miranda, guys, and the work is listening is a form of love, and let everybody know how they can find you. I'll let you have the last word there.
So there's a website, sounditouttogether.org, and we actually have a Spanish language website, Escuchando Sentimientos. But you can go to the English language website, and you can click on the Spanish language website for those who would like it in Spanish instead.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Dr. Miranda, thank you for being with us this morning. Your message is specific but broad-based in terms of the long-term impact of having our children be in a better mental place. So thank you so much for the hard work that you're doing and the support that you're providing for parents across the country.
It's my pleasure to be here and to talk about this important campaign. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being with us this morning, and have a great day.
You too.
Bye now. Dr. Regina Miranda. Guys, you got to check it out. Listening is a form of love. Do we have a spot we can play right now? Yeah. Go for it.
Hey, son. How are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
There you go. So check it out, guys. I think that what the doc has to say, Dr. Regina Miranda has to say in terms of giving our children a forum and a platform to be listened to and participate in the conversation is powerful, because I go back to what one of our callers said earlier about critical thinking and making sure we're catching them early. That's a broad-based conversation that we want to have with regard to our children, but as it relates to them growing into themselves, socially, politically, economically, it does start with that critical thinking. So thanks to Dr. Miranda for being with us, and make sure you check out the work that they're doing over at soundittogether.org. Let's take a quick call. Let's make our way through the end of the show, guys. We kind of missed a break, but let's go to our man Victor out on the Pacific West Coast, northwest of part of the country. Hey, man, how are you?
It's good to hear your voice, Richard. It's just a great voice, and it expresses so much about our political views. And, the doctor's right. But expect after 4 years of Donald Trump, the entire world is going to be in a mental health crisis. That's for
I was hesitant to ask her. I had one of my questions I wanted to ask her is this, Victor, and I didn't because I didn't want to put her really on the spot. And that is, how does she think our children are going to be impacted? And I probably should have asked her this question. Does she think our children will be impacted by this next national election cycle?
Exactly. Well, We'll see, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
The proof is in the pudding. However, I would like to say that Donald Trump is not going to probably pardon the January 6th. He could have done that, the participant in the attack on the United States Capitol, because that would indicate that, he could have done that between January 6th and January 20th, but he didn't, because that would prove that he was a participant in the insurrection. So I doubt if he's going to pardon anybody. And I don't believe he's going to attack any of the January 6th with his Department of Justice, because I'm sure the Republican stink tank doesn't want to bring all that back up. Senator Schiff welcomes Donald Trump's, bringing up the January 6th investigation. Then we can all live through that again.
Well, that's an astute way of looking at it. Yes, he could have preemptively pardoned those people between the 7th and the 20th or the 19th. Yeah, he could have preemptively pardoned anybody that was a part of this, even though many people hadn't been caught yet and all that. I mean, there is a conversation to be had there. The other thing, too, to your point about bringing it up again, yeah, if he goes down the road of trying to prosecute those people or has his Justice Department do that, that gets into the area of disclosure. So we all get to see and hear it again.
Yeah, so you're right, Richard. He definitely won't go down that road. The Republican stink tank won't let him. But one last thing, Donald Trump is, according to Time Magazine, is going to make Donald Trump Person of the Year.
Yeah.
Except this year, they're going to rebrand it. And instead of calling it Person of the Year, they're going to call it Felon and Rapist of the Year.
Good point, Victor. Good point. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in Time. When I saw that, I thought there's so many other people. And Victor, thanks for the call this morning as we wrap up the show today. Time Magazine always, their Person of the Year. Sometimes it's a fluff piece. How do you? Let's be honest, Time. He won the election. Okay. But does that make him Person of the Year? I mean, seriously, the dude was convicted. Victor's forced my hand. I wasn't going to talk about that because I'm just disgusted that Time Magazine would do that. Donald Trump is not. He's not Person of the Year. He's not the comeback kid. He's any of these things that J.D. Vance, who is MIA by the way, has said and others have said. Time Magazine basically really prostituted themselves out in that. They did. The Man of the Year or Person of the Year, I mean, that's garbage. There are people who have won Nobel Prizes, and there are people who have done far better things across the globe. I would say that a Person of the Year, Vladimir Zelensky would be more of a candidate of Person of the Year than Donald Trump is, candidly. Because of the fact that he's enduring something that none of the rest of us are. So Time Magazine, you kind of prostituted yourself out in that regard. And I know that over the years they've picked other people as Person of the Year, which tells you you need to know about Time Magazine. So there you go in that space. But I do appreciate what Victor was saying. I don't know this is going to be the case, but the other side of prosecuting through the Justice Department and the upcoming Justice Department, the people that are part of J6, i.e. the folks that were on the J6 committee. The downside of that for Trump is that will have to be vetted out. In other words, there's going to be disclosure. That's going to be if they're looking for a public display of Liz Cheney or of Adam Schiff or of any other person that was Adam Kinzinger, Benny Thompson, and the list goes on of people that were on the J6 committee. Whoa. Okay. Adam Schiff, they're going to be, there's going to be a lot of information that there'll be an information dump that talk about dump and Trump. Yeah. So Victor may be onto something there. I don't know for a fact, but definitely something to stay tuned to in that space. So, all right, guys, what can I tell you? We always love it when we have great guests on our show, like Dr. Miranda. She was fantastic and really highlighting something that we all should be more aware of, and that's the education of our children, but also the social and the emotional education of our children. So kudos to her and her work over at soundedtogether.org. And thanks to you guys as callers and texters and commenters along the way to keep me abreast of what's happening and what you're hearing and what you want to talk about. So music's playing, coming to the end of the show. As always, take a deep breath. Make your life count, because we'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day.
Adopt, don't shop. This is Dr. Craig from Mark Drugs. We're proud to support WCPT's Pet of the Month, benefiting the Anti-Cruelty Society. Adopt, don't shop is the movement that promotes animal rescue over pet stores. Illinois has wisely outlawed pet stores, but many of those operators merely moved over the border to Indiana or Wisconsin. Their dogs largely come from inhumane puppy mills and live shorter lives with a myriad of health problems caused by overbreeding. I have several canine patients that are on an extensive regimen of medicines simply to extend their lives. I believe every dog deserves a loving home, proper nutrition, and a chance at a long, healthy life. In my experience, rescued mixed-breed dogs are the healthiest of all. So stop by the Anti-Cruelty Society location in the city or log on to their website to find your potential next family member. Or check out markdrugs.com to see this month's Pet of the Month. Remember, you have a choice when it comes to your health care, and a great choice is Mark Drugs in Deerfield and Roselle. Get better health and care for you and your pets.
Hey there, folks. It's Carrie Joy with your Work Money Minute and a tip about saving money when you are renting a car. So you know how you get to the rental counter and then they ask you if you want to prepay for gas so you don't have to bring the car back full. Well, I used to get sweaty in those moments as I wasn't sure what the right money choice was. Prepaying for gas at the rental counter? Not worth it. First off, rental companies often charge more per gallon on the prepay than local gas stations do at the pump.